Hello, everybody. My name is Rachel Braun, and you are listening to Braun and Brains. Today, I spoke to Ben Celebicic. He is the longest tenured employee at Hinge, and he is their Chief Product Technology Officer. We had such a good conversation. So we spoke about all the stuff that you should be doing if you're on Hinge and you want to get more dates. One of the most interesting parts of the conversation to me was when we talked about the new features that they just launched. One of the new features is called Friends Take. Basically, your friends can now leave testimonials up on your profile so your matches can see what your friends think of you. If you like this episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I like talking about tech and adjacent topics. I think you guys are going to really love this episode. Let's get into it. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. I'd love it if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Ben Celebicic, and I am Chief Product and Technology Officer at Hinge. I've been with Hinge for 11 years now, and I am the longest tenured employee.
That's wild. That is insane. So how has the product philosophy changed over those 11 years?
So, by the time when I joined Hinge in 2015, Hinge, like any other dating app at the time, kind of drifted to a paradigm of optimizing for activity within the app. And towards the end of the 2015, we decided we are going to reboot Hinge. So at the time, Justin, our founder, and myself, and a couple other people left to this place in Connecticut, spent quite a bit of time really deeply thinking, searching within ourselves, what the next iteration of Hinge should look like. And we left with a tagline that is designed to be deleted and try to pretty much surround everything around it. So if you think about, how do we get people off of the app? What kind of metric do you want to use that to measure that? We decided that great dates would be the best measure to measure those outcomes. So since then, and this was early 2016, pretty much any decision we made around product, around how we release things, goes through this lens of, is this increasing the chance of two people meeting in real life or not, measured through great dates.
So how are you actually able to measure what a great date is? Like you're not physically, like Ben's not physically coming to the date. Like how do you know that?
Not really. Yeah. So there are a couple of things. First of all, people, exchange information on Hinge before they go on a date. And when we kind of recognize that, we, number one, either survey them through email whether they went on a date, and if they tell us back yes, and then we try to understand whether they're planning to go on a second date, which tell us that first date was success. Also, there is a feature on the app called We Met that you can go in a chat and kind of select that you met with the person you were chatting with before and tell us how the date went.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I have not been on dating apps in a very long time. So I feel like that must be very, very helpful data. And I know that more than half of your monthly active users right now are Gen Z. Has that changed how you have been building the app at all since it started?
I mean, yeah, 100%. You always have to look at the next generation of daters, talk with them, understand what their pain points are, what they're looking for, what their needs are, to build product that is fit for their needs. And when you look specifically at Gen Z, they've grown online. They're very digital native. They understand how, other dating products work, and they're looking for similar, simple things that they find in other products also in their dating life. And so, they're also inner looking. Gen Z is very inner looking generation, and they continue to discover who they are, what their values are, what they're seeking. And they go to their close friends and family and are very open about, discovering themselves. And they also like to gravitate towards simplicity, and they're looking for clear displays of effort and intentionality in the products they're looking, especially around dating. And so we really talk with them all the time, over and over again, to understand what their needs are and apply those learnings to how we build features. So over the past several months, we built Signals. Not sure if you heard about Signals, but it is a badge on your profile that kind of recognizes daters who show up with consistency and are thoughtful, how they navigate through Hinge. Also built a feature called Friends Take that Gen Z really appreciates. It lets in your inner community to help you with building your profile. So yeah, really looking, talking with them all the time, understanding where the pain points are to build the right features for them.
I'd love to dive in more about Friends Take. So that's actually how we were
Yeah.
connected when, right before you guys decided to launch this feature, Hinge had a beautiful breakfast that we attended and we got to learn all about it. Can you explain
Yeah.
what Friend Take is and why you guys decided this was the right time to launch the feature?
Yeah, 100%. So, the right time to launch the feature, Hinge has always known that dating is a not solo act.
Yeah.
If you look how, through the history, people have been dating, whether before dating apps, whether you go to a bar or you go to a concert or you're at school, you're always surrounded with friends and, they're there to support you on your dating journey as well. And so Hinge has also started as a Friends of Friends app. So Friends Take kind of builds on Hinge's long-standing understanding of the community and the needs of daters. We also know that, especially Gen Z, majority of them go to their family and friends to ask for advice about profile. So when they build their profile, when they select photos, when they answer prompts, they're looking for help for others, and there was really no way in our product to do that. So Friends Take is this first feature that we built that helps you bring your inner circle and to help you build much more rich profile, and also gives others insights about you that are not necessarily only your perspective, but perspective of people who deeply know you and love you.
On this like friend curation feature, I feel like
Yeah.
we've seen it a few times just in different forms. Sometimes we see it as the entire dating app and it has failed. So in 2018, I believe there's something called Wingman. There were joint profiles in 2021. I know there were a lot of TikTok trends where friends were helping kind of create or
Yeah.
maybe even run people's dating profiles that ended up getting them banned. How do you think that this will be any different?
Yeah, great question. Interesting thing that I didn't mention when I talk about the history and the reboot of Hinge and how we kind of came up with design to be deleted. We also decided that we really want to concentrate on their needs and what is going to help them get on a date, rather than looking at what competition does, what others are building. And so I don't really look at all, in my day to day, what the competition is doing. I
Yeah.
purely concentrate on what the user needs are, understand, listen to them, and what their needs are. We try to kind of orient all the features we build around that. And in this specific case, this is in-app feature that helps you bring people who are in your circles. They don't need really to have Hinge account or Hinge app even installed. You can reach them through this unique link, and they can fill out things about you from that link without necessarily having Hinge installed. And we're already seeing, by the way, some very interesting and promising metrics moving with this feature. So it is helping people get on dates.
That's awesome. And I want to hear, how does the product testing go for launching any new features at Hinge? So I imagine it must take some time. How long does it take from idea to actually getting it on the app? And kind of like, what's that
Yeah.
process?
Yeah, great question. So it has been evolving over time, especially in the recent couple of years with AI. We've been trying to shift learnings left. And what I mean by that, the sooner we can gain conviction around something we're building, the better it's
Yeah.
going to be. And the resources spent on building it are going to be um, allocated properly. So we come up with idea through listening to users, through looking through data, to understanding where the pain points are. And once we come up with an idea, now we have tools through AI to prototype those ideas without ever getting those into hands of developers. And once we have those prototypes, number one, we run them by Hinge employees. So luckily for us, Hinge
So your
employee
employees are your
base.
testers. It's like dog fooding at like at the biggest extent there.
Yeah, dog fooding, exactly. So, very luckily for us, actually purposefully for us, we built our employee base that is a very close reflection of our user base. And we have a lot of
Wow. So
daters
if Gen
here.
Zs people are looking for jobs, they should be looking at Hinge.
This is the best place to work in tech. So we built these prototypes. We put them in hands of Hinge users. We dog food ourselves and gain conviction from there. And once we gain conviction, we go and build a feature. And before we put it out there in the wild, we also A/B test it. So we released a small amount of users worldwide, see how it behaves in real life. And if that passes the test of, is this actually increasing the chance of two people meeting in real life, then we go out and release it to everyone. So that's more or less the testing. I think how long does it take? It depends on the size of the feature and how complicated it is. But I would say somewhere between, 3 to 4 months until something sees the light of day.
Interesting. Is there any feature that has really impacted user outcomes? So, have you noticed anybody that is using a specific feature, a large audience using a specific feature, and they're going on more dates than other people?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. If I think about from last year, for example, your turn limits. Are you familiar with the feature? We kind of try to limit the number of active conversations you have with people. It's really helping you, hone in and concentrate on few conversations that are meaningful to you. That one has increased substantially a chance of people meeting in real date. Um, I would say signals and friends take recently, but most importantly, we've spent about a year last year building a recommendation system from ground up using
Wow.
deep learning technology, all the latest and greatest things out there. Also, some proprietary things that we built in house, and that have substantially increased chances of two people meeting in real life.
Wow. And how does that differ from what you guys were doing before the recommendation?
And so it's just brand new technology. So before, deep learning and more advanced AI technologies, we used a very different, older technology that did not really have the same impact as this one. But if you think about, the recommender and your turn limit and signals and friends take and like many, many other things, none of these things in isolation will provide you huge value. You really have to look at them as a unit, as how we kind of really orchestrate all of them in different parts of your journey to improve experience for all. So it is really hard to think about like one single feature as like this is one thing that is going to really uh, make the dating app. It is a
Yeah.
combination of many, many different things.
Were there any features that you guys tested internally that didn't see the light of day? Like, is there anything that you guys ended up killing?
Oh yeah, many. You know, I the hardest part of my job, but I think the most important part of my job is saying no to things. Imagine a world where you have a great idea and you really believe it's going to work, and you spend time getting conviction and thinking about it and building it, and eventually it does not really move the needle. We have to kill it, even though a lot of efforts was spent on it. I'll give you a couple of examples of like recent things that we killed that on surface might seem like they should have worked, but they didn't. And Hinge is very mission driven and principle driven organization, and one of our core principles is keep it simple. So when we think about like what does that actually mean in real life, it really means killing things that don't move needle on outcomes. um, my favorite example is as you go and build your profile, Hinge is requiring all users to upload 6 photos, and that is really tough. You have to go and browse to your camera roll and figure out what are kind of 6 photos do you want to select. So when AI came out, we thought it would be really great if AI can help us pick from your camera roll what kind of 6 photos would be the best for your dating profile. And we tested that feature. It really goes much quicker to do so. But as we were testing it in the wild, we realized that actually people are much better at selecting 6 photos from their camera roll than AI would be, and therefore decided to kill that. One other example is as we think about like the most holistic perspective of a person, what kind of things can we add to give indication whether you would like to go on a date with this person or not. Introduction was another one of these. It's a little like note on top of your profile that gives a little bit more context about who you are to the other person viewing you. And again, on surface, it might sound like this is going to work, but at the end of the day, during testing, we discovered that it's not really moving the needle and is adding clutter to the profile. So we decided to kill it. So at the end of the day, we never ship anything for the sake of innovation, for the sake of technology, for the sake of shipping. We only ship things that, increase chance of getting your date.
And for the people that are on Hinge and using Hinge frequently, have you seen a big change in how they're dating since that 2015 2016 era when you first joined? I feel like now with maybe not the rise of social media, because obviously social media was still really big in 2015 and 2016, but maybe with the rise of people being more comfortable with an online presence, more comfortable sharing. I remember like even 5-10 years ago, or maybe not 10 years ago, but maybe 5 years ago, I'd be hesitant about having a public Instagram on a dating app because it's like, oh man, now I feel kind of weird about it. Now I'm like, okay, like that's just how it rolls. Like, have you been seeing any ways people have been dating differently over the years?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So I joined in 2015, and then at the end of 2015, we decided to reboot Hinge and kind of rebuild it. And whatever you see out there right now in the App Store is this like new Hinge that we released in late 2016. So, when I joined and throughout probably the first 6 or 7 years, me being at Hinge, Hinge was designed for millennial daters. It was originally friends through friends, and eventually we kind of removed that as we saw it was not really necessary. And over the last, I would say, maybe 4+ years, we've been really, really concentrating on Gen Z because, they came on the dating scene and they are the next generation of daters. They are very digital native. They deeply understand how technology works. They deeply want to, make sure that they get value out of the tools they're using out there, including dating products as well. They're also, as you said, much more open to sharing, much more vulnerable, and they're much more also fluid in how they change. They want to learn about themselves. They bring their family and friends into their dating journey and are open about struggles and asking for help. So a lot of things have changed. And when I look through that lens, features that we released recently, like date ideas that kind of help you indicate that you're willing to go on a date on your profile, or prompt feedback that we built into the product last year to really help you go a little bit deeper about answering prompts. Convo starters, they're also kind of there to make sure that when you start a conversation with someone, it is going to lead somewhere. Like combination of all those things are all the learnings of how Gen Z is dating and are very different than how millennials used to date for that.
I'm so interested in hearing that Hinge had origins of meeting through friends, and now there's friend take. That is so that's really interesting how that goes. So before, when it was origins of friends, was it just like you saw how many mutual friends you had up on a corner or something? Like how did that function?
So originally, friends of friends used to be connected through Facebook. So we would look at who are your friends of your friends on Facebook and recommend you those. And you would always have someone in common. And that went a long way. Like imagine you meet someone, but you already have someone in common with that person that can either help you introduce you or tell you a little bit more about the other side.
I love that idea.
Yeah, that was really, really good idea. But I think in the context of, what exactly do you want from dating and how you evolve and how you change and how you kind of grow through it, opening the aperture to more people is very beneficial. Having really kind of bounded by only friends of your friends is not enough to get you on, to actually, have you meet someone for most people.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided to go away from that, which is relatively hindering mechanics really helpful, but also really hindering because it reduces your pool of potential people you can meet.
Yeah, more shots on goal, I guess, if you take away that kind of feature. And in New York City, I feel like Hinge really is one of the main apps, if not the main app. And especially over the past few years, we've seen a lot of dating apps die out, a lot of dating apps start and fizzle out. What
Yeah,
has made Hinge the number one app that so many people are using, and what has made it live this life so much
yeah.
longer than a lot of its competitors?
I would say, in this category, this is a very special category, by the way. I think, I've seen throughout my career here a lot of people joining from different places and really learning the like intricacies of this category are complicated. And in order for you to stay relevant for long term, you have to win trust of people. And when I say trust, I'm looking through the lens of like, what does it actually trust mean? It is twofold. Number one, the questions they ask themselves are: do I trust Hinge to keep me safe? Am I going to meet people who are going to scam me, or am I going to meet people who are, going to harm me, or things like those? And then the second pillar of trust is this going to help me go on a date? So looking through those two lenses, on the safety side, about a third of Hinge's organization is dedicated to trust and safety. So we deeply
Wow.
invest in making sure that everyone here is safe. They're not going to get harmed or scammed. And that is one reason. The second reason is this like obsessiveness about outcomes offline, really thinking about like two people meeting in real life and increasing chances of that. So those two things in combination is what kind of kept Hinge relevant throughout all of these years. You can come on the scene and build something that is built for engagement and go viral really fast, but those things fizzle out quickly. For long-term relevance, you really have to think about the core needs of daters and really hone in on that.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, and also, yes, we are, as you said, the biggest and the fastest growing one in New York, but Hinges all over the place. We are, I think, in a 26, maybe even more now, countries all over the world, and we are in most of those places we exist, either number one or number two dating app.
How do you measure that?
So we look. There are tools out there. There's like Sensor Tower, and we also have numbers about downloads and about other things from many different sources. So you can see how many downloads a month happen for each one of these platforms.
That's awesome. Really, really cool. And I think my last question for you would be if anybody right now is struggling to find somebody on the Hinge app, they're on the dating apps. Do you have any advice for users out there? Because I have some single friends that might be listening to this episode.
Yeah. I would say start with your friends. This recent feature we released, Friends Take, that help you bring in your community, through sharing this unique link, I believe is going to be a game changer, especially for people who are struggling. Open up, bring your friends, have them help you building your profile, making sure that like you have rounded profile that is a reflection of who you are, and that should, I think, be very helpful. Also, I think another thing that I'm going to, as a tip I can give you is being intentional about who you like or skip. Really gives much better indication to a recommendation system than if you're not really active in your Discover page. So go to the Discover page, like some profiles, help our recommender learn about you so they can give you much better recommendations from there on.
Amazing advice. Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to ask you to redo your intro as well, right at the top,
Okay.
so I get your full face in it. I will start just saying, Ben, thank you so much for joining. And then you can go into your intro again. Is that all okay?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I
No, you
didn't
are
set
all
my timer
good.
up.
You are all good.